Ah, welcome to Career and Corporate Hub. Ngadzina nifikotani hlajwayo. Interview ya namusi ikudha ufokasa ka artificial intelligence. Nina mucho ane ashuma ka hello Buddha. I am with Tshifhiwa Maumela. Tshifhiwa Maumela, welcome to Career and Corporate Hub.
Nah.
Tshifhiwa, can you please tell me about your background, more on like your primary schooling and high school schooling, and also your upbringing?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so primary ndiva Ha-Mashau, then later primary to Mariadze primary school, and then after I finished Mariadze, and then I went to Lostrihat. Then I went to Murunga when I was in Lostrihat, and that's where I did my matric.
That's like Murunga is a high school.
It's combined. So it runs from grade R to matric. But I started there in high school.
Oh, okay.
So I went to the high school part of it.
Yeah, I'm thinking like Mashau to Lois, like the distance.
Yes. So now when I was in Lois, I was now staying at my aunt's house in Lois.
Oh, okay.
So then that helped to shorten the distance part. So there was not a challenge of the distance
from home
to Lois. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And in primary, how was your primary like? Did you go to a private primary, or is it like your normal rural area primaries where everything is taught in Venḓa?
Yeah, everything was taught in Venḓa. Everything you're learning English in Venḓa.
Yes, everything is translated.
Yeah, learning mathematics in Venḓa. I mean, even in high school, though it was a private school, most of the learnings, some of the teachers will take you, will try to explain some concepts in Venḓa. And I was also helped a lot by going to winter schools and Saturday schools. And I used to go to Thando almost every Saturday. My other cousin there, my parents' cousin rather, maybe it's better to put it that way.
Yeah.
He used to teach maths and biology and science. So we'll go to his house on Saturday, and then that's where he will be teaching me all the things which Bandeka know from Venḓa. So that's where I learned most of my maths and things from. And then on Saturday we'll go to interview there by Thando next to the taxi rank. There's a primary school there which on weekends was used for
I think I also did my Saturday school thing.
Yeah, so probably
yes,
where they used to do for all subjects, even Afrikaans, because for some reason I did Afrikaans because when I went to Roma there was no Tshivenda as a language option by the time I went there, so I had to take Afrikaans. So I learned Afrikaans in Tshivenda basically. I learned how to cram through the.
But was that helpful? Like you studying everything in Tshivenda? Okay, maybe like the extra classes helped you like to navigate like through your subjects, your maths and science. So the school that you went to, was it your normal high school way, like maybe let me call it a mainstream high school where you've got maths and science and accounting, or was it a technical high school?
No, it was a normal high school.
Okay.
So yes, it did help learning things in Tshivenda because especially now that I'm in the field of artificial intelligence, I then understand, because you need to understand things from the fundamental principles, right? So when I think about it, I always say that one of the reasons why I was able to grasp many concepts is because some of the concepts were being explained to me in a language that when I get home, I'll be talking to my grandmother in that language, and then it means now that I can relate what I'm learning from school
way of looking at it.
into the daily life, right? Unlike if I'm learning something in English, that vocabulary does not exist in my daily living at home. There are certain, I'll use examples such as I was deep in the rurals. I was lucky that my mother was a teacher, so she would go to town in month end. She'll come back with apples. And then you go to during the school holidays, you go visit. We used to come a lot to Joburg. But imagine now another child who had never seen an apple, and then the textbook says A for apple.
Yeah, you can't relate.
Easy. So they can't. So why not for books that are going to Venḓa, say A for avocado, because they see avocados every day, so they can conceptualize what that is.
Yes.
So those are some of the concepts that when I started learning, especially now when I'm doing artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is more like education, right? You're educating a computer to say learn this and understand the world that we understand it, and then you go back and say, but no, as a human being, I understood things because they started off in the fundamental.
Okay. And studying in high school, did you always knew that you wanted to pursue your career in artificial intelligence?
No, not even.
Did you even know what it was?
No, not even. I only found out about artificial intelligence pretty much in my last year of my studies, like
your undergraduate.
My undergraduate studies,
which was
electrical electronics engineering.
Okay.
So
electrical,
electrical and electronics engineering.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I stumbled upon it by chance, and also at that time in around 2011. There was something which was called AI winter, something along those lines. I tend to not care about the terminologies, the hypes that people put around it, but the concept around it was that AI was dead.
Okay.
So there was no hope of applying AI in real life applications. So the only people who were actually using some concepts in applications were people from electrical and electronics engineering in control system. So we were learning it mainly from that perspective, not in the perspective that we are using it mostly in today. So in those days, AI was not a career choice. In fact, even when I started working, my manager at that time even asked me, why are you doing your master's in a dead field? Those were his words, and that was 2011. So
okay, and what inspired it? Like, why did you choose it? I mean, is there like a link between electrical and artificial intelligence?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? I think I took it because I used to struggle with programming, and I wanted to challenge myself.
Okay.
I think because most of the things that when I trace back, like I did some tracing back of most of the things that I've done in my life before, I usually went for the things that I struggled with. The ones that I've found easy to pass, I was like, nah, I'm not really much interested. But those that I found to be challenging were the ones that I said, like, oh, I think it would be nice to pursue this. But with artificial intelligence, it was part of that, and also the other part of it was I had a mentor who actually took me, like literally dragged me into the space without me understanding and knowing what was happening in the space, and then guided me. In fact, there were two of them.
Was it after your post? I mean, was it after your undergrad qualification?
Yeah, yes and no. So I started being a research assistant for him while I was when I was finishing my undergrad. So what happened was I had the best blessing in disguise of failing. So
why did you say of failing?
There's so much opportunities that you can find from the failing opportunity if you look at the failing in a different way. So I didn't finish my degree in record time, so I had to finish my degree in 4.5 years. So which means that I added 6 months onto my degree. So in that 6 months, that's when I got full-blown research assistant work for the professor in AI, and then he became my supervisor for AI, and then what I was doing became my master's topic.
Okay.
So because I was, and if I had finished in time, it means that I would have missed that window. It means that I would have missed the opportunity to be where I am and doing what I'm doing today. So hence I say it's a very big blessing which came in disguise with me failing to finish my degree in record time. Yeah.
They always say that you must take failure as a lesson, not as a, like, don't beat yourself too much. Yeah. So
in fact, I find I personally find that there's more lessons in failure than in success.
True. I actually performed better in matric because I failed grade 11, and when I failed grade 11 I was crying, and my sister was like, no, you're gonna do better, maybe you must take this as a lesson. And really from that day I started studying, and I was like really performing quite well, and looking at it now I'm like, yeah, I don't think I would have passed matric well if I didn't fail grade 11. So yeah, that is true. So for somebody that is in grade 12, obviously in high school you did maths and science as your major subjects, and then when applying for varsity, did you have electrical, electrolysis? What?
Electrical and electronics.
Oh, electrical and electronics. Did you have it as your first choice when you're applying in high school?
So in varsity, funny enough, my parents wanted me to become a doctor as much as everyone as well. But myself, there was a book. My brother had given me a book from his work that had it was like science and technology. And being honest, I do think that book is still somewhere in my parents' home, so I need to go on and dig deeper into my archives there. So in that book, and I'll always try to keep on reminding him, the person who was there in the engineering, because it was talking about the engineering things, and then in between there, they had a picture of Prof. Marwara while he was still at VETS.
Okay.
And then there was a part on the electrical and the electronics engineering, and I saw what they were saying and the work that they were doing at SAB at that time. I'm like, oh, okay, this is quite interesting, and control system seems quite interesting. I did not even know what control systems are supposed to be.
And that is the future.
Yeah. Then I see the electronics.
Okay.
I'm like, you know what? I don't see myself doing mechanical. I don't see myself doing chemical, because if it was not for my other friend Rendani Maliaga, I would have failed chemistry. So he's the one who used to teach me chemistry.
You also had chemistry as part of your module.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So I would have failed chemistry in high school. So
in high school,
yes.
Okay.
So I didn't want to do chemistry. I didn't want to do chemical engineering in university, because I could not picture. The school that we went to didn't have the chemicals to mix. The lab, so all those chemical reactions and everything.
And a lot of schools in Venḓa, like you can't practically see when we talk about chemistry.
So it was all imaginative.
Yes.
Right? So, and that scared me.
Okay.
With chemical engineering.
Yeah.
Then that's when I saw that the book and saw the electronic stuff. I was like, this is something that I would actually like to do. Then that's,
you were doing grade 12.
I was he gave me the book. I think I was in grade 10. I think.
Okay.
When he gave me the
book.
That's
good. Yeah. Because I mean, most learners actually we only wake up when we're in grade 12 to say this is when you have to apply for university. What do I want to study? You know. Yeah. So it's always advisable that you start to make research earlier. And which university did you go to?
I then went to University of Johannesburg.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And how were the studies? Were they difficult? How were they?
The first thing that they said in class when we walked into class, they said, look at your left, look at your right, you're not going to see them next semester. And that was the case. When you get back next semester, some of the guys are not there. And that fear of will I also be one of those? I mean, my first quarter of my first semester, I was an A student. My first semester I was passing great marks, good marks. Then something clicked in me to say, like, you know what, I need to try to balance my life.
Okay, so you were only focusing on like your studies.
Yeah. Then second semester, that's when I took a late approach to my life and said, it's a matter of working smartly, not hard, then I was not aiming for distinctions from there. I'm not a distinction student.
But is that advisable? I mean, for somebody that
you'll be lucky, and you must try to thrive for that, to find yourself and find and say, what kind of a person am I? Because once you know that, it becomes very much easy. And I do believe that that's something that you can even find even when you're still in high school. In many cases, I hear people say that no, you'll discover yourself as you're growing older. The truth is, even when you're growing older, you still try to discover yourself.
Discovering. Yes, it never ends, because people evolve, and now in different stages you have to learn, like, where are we going now? So
the earlier you try to do that, the better. So try to do that as early as possible. Try to figure out and understand, how do I learn? Do I learn better when there's music? Do I learn better when there's other people? Do I learn better in quiet? Do I learn better by trying to get all the marks? Because I've seen people who are trying to get all the marks and then they end up failing. I've seen people who were trying who did not even take anything seriously and also end up failing. So it's about that balance which you can find in there for me.
Okay, that's actually great advice. Did you have a bursary when you were studying your undergrad?
No, my first year I didn't have a bursary. So my parents paid for the first year.
Okay.
Then the second year, that's when I had a bursary from Transnet.
Okay, how did you apply for it?
I used to apply to many companies. I think I even started applying for bursaries even when I was still in university. In high school.
In high school, okay. I thought maybe you were one of those who didn't know about bursaries in high school, and then only, like, when I was asking a lot of high school learners, they were saying that they have applied for NSS. That's the only thing they know about. And then when you look, there's a lot of bursaries, so that's why I was asking about the bursary.
Luckily enough for me, I had an older brother who takes education very seriously. So that was one of big plus for me, right? So hence, for example, I got the book about science and technologies while I was still in high school. I knew about how to go apply for different universities. All you provide me will be addresses, and then I'll write a letter, and then I'll show him the letter. He's like, okay, it's good. Then go send the letter. I go send the letters myself. When the forms come back, I ask, assists, and all those. So I was fortunate enough to have had that in the family.
And what would you advise for someone who does not have that support and also does not have the finances to go study at a university and currently in high school?
So I think we talked about this over the phone, and I still believe that that's because I even read, went on and read that book, the full book, the Before Varsity book, by Maumela. I think I even have a copy somewhere here.
I'll also put the link to purchase it in the description box. I think it's very important that you read it before you get to varsity.
Yes, definitely. Because at the end of the book, it even lists the different bursaries that are there. Some of them might be outdated, but they are a good gateway. So once you know what keywords to look for in Google, you'll find that. I mean, so for me, even the bursary that was on, I used to get. So back then, fortunately, what we used to have as students as well was that we form a group where we're sharing information. Like you find that you're getting application forms for different bursaries. Even after I got the bursary, I think I was still sharing those things even until I finished my varsity. Even though I had bursary myself.
Which is good. And did you have a lot of ladies when you were doing your undergraduate?
No, funny enough, there were not. So many ladies were in civil engineering.
Okay.
So in electrical and electronics engineering, we didn't have many ladies, and also it's difficult as well to say there were ladies in your class or not in engineering in the way that it was back then, right? Because you find that you are in first year, but you are attending classes with people who are supposed to be fourth year.
Yes,
so how do I count them as the ladies in my class? You find that I'm in fourth year, but I'm attending class with other people who are supposed to finish. Okay, let me not say we were supposed to finish, because they say engineering is a 4-year degree course, but the first 6 years are difficult, right? So who had been in university for 6 years or 7 years, so they'll be finishing up another course in my class. So if I were to say ladies in my class, I'll talk about the year photo, and then the year photo that we took, I think there were about 5 ladies.
Sure, yeah, that's very little.
Yeah,
we were also very few. I think in some classes we were like three ladies. And what would you advise for ladies to study in your field?
Go out there, go study. Like they need to stop being that stereotype of thinking that engineering or artificial intelligence or programming is mainly for women. No, it's mainly for men rather.
Yes.
And women need to go do more soft skill courses. That's not the case. We effectively right now in the AI space, I find that recently I've actually been working mainly with women, and they're actually even the more brilliant minds around the space. So go out there, go study the field. Go explore the field. It's a beautiful field. Yeah,
and when you started your, when you went into the corporate environment, what were you working as?
Yeah, so when I went into the corporate environment, I started off as an engineering in training.
Okay, yeah.
So I was doing electrical and electronics work. So I was put into a department that is product development for electronics. Then I started off doing some electrical and electronic work. I realized quickly then that electrical electronics was not necessarily the kind of like things that I like doing, to design circuit boards and fixing circuit boards and all those things. I realized that that's not necessarily for me. Luckily enough, since I had already started my master's in artificial intelligence, and my topic was condition monitoring of transformers. So since I was working in a locomotive environment, in the trains environment, I then started suggesting topics, things that we can start looking into, because in engineering,
improvement.
Yes, because in engineering we collect lots of data, right?
Yeah.
So I started suggesting that we can do condition monitoring of the motors that are in the locomotive. We can do condition monitoring of the traction motors, of the pantographs, of the circuit boards, of these, and then ultimately that also led to doing condition monitoring of the whole locomotive. So luckily enough, because I was fortunate and lucky, to be honest, to have had the kind of managers at that time who, when I mentioned that we can do this, they said, okay, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, others could have said no, and then I would have had to be forced to do the things that I didn't really like doing.
I actually wanted to ask about your work experience, like when you were suggesting those improvements, like how far were you in your career?
My first year.
Really?
Yeah, my first year.
Okay.
So we started most of those
so you were still a trainee?
I was still a trainee.
Okay.
So it was in my first year, and one of the beautiful things that will happen as well was that when I have an idea, I will then communicate the idea with those guys who I mentioned that they were my mentors, right?
Yes.
And who were also supervising me for masters. So I'll be like, but prof, there's this idea that I have in mind, and this and this. And it's around locomotives, we can try to do this. Then they're like, no, that sounds like a very good idea. And another thing that also pushed me was, so in the team there were other people who were skeptical about this application of AI, because remember again, they actually even mentioned that AI is a dead field, right? Because it was a dead field at the time. So they'll question, they say, but what can you do with this AI stuff? Then that's when, luckily enough, in our team came another guy who was an industrial engineer. And then I did not even know much about industrial engineering. Then I asked him, I'm like, what is industrial engineering? Then he starts explaining to me what industrial engineering does. And then I started seeing that, so these guys link engineering and business together. And then that's when when the more I looked into it, the more I stumbled upon business intelligence.
Okay.
And then I realized, okay, so it means that already in business there's already data. So now, instead of just applying AI on the engineering stuff alone, I started now even suggesting projects for business, which even led to within my first 3 years of working, I was, effectively within my first 2 years of working actually, I actually even started working on a project to do to improve business processes using AI. And within the 4th year, we even did one where we were forecasting the contracts consumptions. So so that challenge, the fact that someone was skeptical and asking questions, it made me to go on and try to poke and say, but if this can be done, surely someone has done it somewhere before. Let me go on and search and research further and find out how can we use this solution in this space. And then that's how I stumbled upon how to do it in business. And then in fact, if you look at it today, most companies want people to apply AI in the business context rather than engineering context.
That's what I was saying, like that is the future. So for somebody who, when you're new in a company, and a trainee, it's very hard that they consider your ideas. And it also discourages interns, let me just call them interns or trainees, to bring their ideas forward because their ideas get shut down. So what would you advise, or what type of personality must you have in order for you to have, for them to have trust in you?
So ideas are going to get shut down no matter how old you are. And that's the part which we're talking about of saying it's a continuous part of discovering yourself, right? So, I mean, even the projects that we end up doing, it's not like they were the first projects that are put on the table and then they were accepted. Always take, remember how we even started the conversation? We started the conversation about the opportunities that are there in failing. So the idea being shut down, you could take it as a failure and go back and say, how can I improve it? So still building on the same idea and say, but okay, so in fact what you can even do, if I tell you that you cannot do it, something cannot be done, it is your duty to ask me, why do I think so? So that I can give you those pointers. And when I give you those pointers, you go back and say, let me find out the solution to these pointers, because it's my duty as the senior, when you come with the idea, to find loopholes or be pessimistic about that idea, to say that it will fail, that will fail, that, because my job is to look for risks. So when the idea is being shut down, it's not being shut down because it's stupid, because it's this, unless if someone just makes a stupid comment, right, as a leader. But that's when now it comes down to another different conversation about EQ, where they shut down your idea based on feelings or social context, rather than telling you that no, this idea won't work because in this space you need a car needs to be moving in this direction, so you cannot do one that will take the car in that direction. If they say that, you go back and say, no, let me go on and try to find out how can we make it do that. The fact that it has not been done before does not mean that it cannot be done.
I see. So now that you are in artificial intelligence, what is your title? I know doctor. But at work, what is your title?
Oh,
your job title?
So if you do artificial intelligence, there are a couple of titles there of jobs that you can get. So you can either become an AI researcher, which means that you're working on finding new algorithms. So these are the people who are going to be developing new algorithms, and also maybe tweaking the algorithms to be suitable for the application area.
Can you simplify that when you talk about algorithm?
So sure. How do I simplify an algorithm? So, an algorithm is basically a formula, a recipe. An algorithm is basically how, when you're cooking, you have certain steps that you must follow, and you know that if I add the spices here, there's certain spices that you will add in the beginning, there's certain spices that you add at the end, and depending on what dishes you're cooking, you'll do the same. So that is an algorithm, the formula that you're following there to execute something. The temperature where the stove must be on, when you must stir, that's an algorithm. So so those are the guys who actually, so basically you can say that they're like the chefs basically, who are coming up with new recipes. Not necessarily the chefs who are going to be cooking, but who just come to try to say, let me discover a new meal that I can offer. Then you also have data scientists. Data scientist is the one that is most commonly sought out in South Africa. So data scientists are the guys who then identify what business problem is, and then try to say this is a solution that we can then use to solve this business problem using artificial intelligence algorithms. And then after that, they package the solution to present it to business, because business tends to be very how can I put it? I'm trying to find a very diplomatic way to use it, but I can't. Maybe let me just say it in this way. The burdens of being in engineering is that you have to speak geeky and you have to speak business, whereas business people only speak business. So the data scientist's job is also to do that, to say, how do I take geeky results and package them in a way that a business person can come and consume, because business people just want to consume. They want to give you a problem, and then after that they want to consume. They see you as a black box. And then the other part now in artificial intelligence, there's also now a new role, which is the role that I occupy now, which is the machine learning engineer. So the machine learning engineer comes in after the data scientists have done the model. So once the data scientists have done the model, it is then my job to say, we have guys who did data engineering pipelines. So data engineering pipelines is basically data from the different databases and putting them in a way that the data comes in fast and clean, and the data scientists process that data. And then now that we have the model, my job is to say, how do I scale up this model so that since let's use a Netflix example. Netflix is used by millions of people, but that model is just that, say, one model that is there that they've designed. So the question is, how do you then get that model to be used by 100 people without failing? So that's the job of machine learning engineer. So that's interesting. Yes. And then there's the data engineer part, which is who the person will be focusing on saying, how can we get the data to be flowing as fast as possible, as much as possible.
And is there an undergrad qualification on AI?
I see you're very much an industrial engineer. Keep on saying IA.
Because
there is not a direct course as yet into artificial intelligence, and I think it's a good thing actually, because it's a very multidisciplinary field. Because believe it or not, most people who actually developed the first AI algorithms. And the best who out there in the world. If you can go check some of those guys, Jeff Hinton, I think even Joshua is also the same.
Okay.
And this other guy called Hollard. They're all psychologists. Funny enough.
I thought maybe you'd say like they did engineering.
No, they were all psychologists. Yeah. So that's why I say it's a good thing that there's not that particular course. So you can find that it's people who did engineering. In fact, right now most of the people who are even doing are coming from industrial engineering, coming from electrical engineering. Yeah. There are a few coming from mechanical,
mechatronics.
And mechatronics as well. Few coming from pure mechanical, and few coming from civil.
Okay.
And then you also find people who did applied mathematics, and people who did statistics, and people who did pure maths, and people who did computer science.
Okay.
So those are, and some are coming in from finance now.
Okay, I was about to ask what about
economics,
IT, information technology.
So they'll be there with the computer science guys.
Okay.
Yeah, so if they're them, then they'll think they'll be fine. So the guys who in IT, they usually go more into data engineering side of things.
Okay. And is there like an advice that you would give to somebody who would like to study artificial intelligence, like to do it in their postgraduate?
Yes, one of the advice that I'll then give is that when you take that opportunity to go do your postgraduate in artificial intelligence, try as much as you possibly can to understand the fundamentals. We have a big problem where you have an influx of people coming in to do artificial intelligence, but they don't have an understanding of the fundamentals. And I think you'll appreciate it when I say that it's like a mechanical engineer who just learned how to use CAD but does not know how to do a free body diagram.
Yeah.
That person is going to struggle in terms of designing new things and new problems, and that's one thing that everyone who's been my mentee in the space, I've always gone to them and said, go back and do one of these algorithms by hand before just using the libraries that are available. It's easy to use those libraries. Go do it by hand and program that program there by yourself, because even that library was designed by someone.
Yeah.
So why can't you do that yourself? Go learn how to do that. Again, that free body diagram mentality. If you were to if you were to design a car, we start off from the free body, like the automotive, the part of it, and then you add in more things and do more tricks as you go.
Would you then advise someone that is moving from primary to high school to go to a technical high school where they do like major in engineering, graphics and design, electrical, mechanical, civil, if they want to pursue their career in that field?
To be honest, I'm not sure, because even I'm like as I said, as I was even saying earlier, I tend to not follow the computermalizing of different things, right? So even when I was in high school, even still today, I still do not know what the difference between a technical high school and a normal high school is.
Sorry for another day.
I still do not know.
Okay, yeah, and so currently you are in corporate. Would you like to stay in corporate or run your own business, or you currently have a business running?
I don't have a business running. So one of the challenges that I need to think about this year is precisely that.
Okay.
So at the moment I cannot answer that question.
Okay, you're still happy in corporate.
I'm still happy in corporate. To be honest, I'm not a fan of the cliches of saying I slept on my friend's couch, I didn't have this and this. So if I need to stay in corporate to gather capital to fund my business, then let me do that. Rather than go in and say, nah, no, I'm going to follow my dream. And in fact, it's actually something that in the first pages of the book that I'm currently reading, ego is
what
the
is
enemy.
it called?
Ego is the enemy.
Oh, okay.
By Ryan Holiday.
Okay. Must read it.
Yeah, so I mean, he even says that because talking about when you're having ambitions and stuff like that. So he even mentions that in the introduction. I was like, wow, this is something that I always say, that problem with South African entrepreneurs is that we want the story that I slept on my friend's couch.
Yes,
I
and
don't
they
want
all want to tell that story.
Yeah. I don't want that story for my life, because I'm not going to lie and say that I struggled, and I'm not going to subject myself to that if it's unnecessary. So
yeah, true. That's actually good advice, because everyone wants to tell a story that this is where I struggled. I didn't have a place to stay. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. So that's actually a good advice. Just in closing, I always like to ask my guests. Is there a question that you feel like I could have asked that can help someone that is still in high school, or just anyone who would like to do a PhD in artificial intelligence that I could have asked, and how would you have answered it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the question that I think you didn't ask is the question about expanding one's knowledge, one's general knowledge outside the profession in the space. So one thing that I did for my sisters and my nephews as well was that they must start making a target of how many books they need to read a year. And then it became my responsibility to buy them a book, because the book is 300 rand and they're students, so they cannot afford to buy a book because they're students.
Yes.
Right now, as I'm speaking, one of my sisters, she reads 20 books a year now. And she buys their own books now.
I know my sister, so she learned from you guys like to read 52 books.
She's the one who taught me how to read 52 books a year. So that's something that I think you guys can actually go on to explore and expand your knowledge. There's something that Prof. Moran likes saying, those who don't read shouldn't lead. And that is a very powerful statement, and I believe that, because there's nothing worse than being led by someone who only reads from Twitter and takes that as the facts.
Yes, they don't have like backing, they don't have references.
So go read even the most disagreeable books. Even the person who you disagree the most with, go read their books, go read their views, understand. So put a target to yourself. In school, libraries have books, so you can go get the books from the library.
So it doesn't have to start when you're old. You can start as early as primary, and then it will become a habit.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's a saying that I'm studying. I don't have time to read books. And so how can they like adjust or navigate through that, like studying and then reading a book?
Very interesting, because someone just asked me the same question today. Can you please pass me my phone? I just want to see. I gave him a list of about 8 different things that they can actually try to look into in order for them to try to maximize, actually optimize. So he asked me a question. He says, given the things that I have in my plate, how do I manage to read a book a week?
Yes.
And then I said, number 1, waiting for orders at a restaurant. When you are there at Nando's, when you're waiting for the order, you can be reading. Waiting for someone, when someone says let's go meet, when you are there waiting for that person, when they're running late, you are reading, and in that way you won't feel frustrated. In a car and someone is driving, that's why I don't like driving myself.
I was actually telling my husband, I actually drove, with the AirPods, you can focus on the road and you can also listen, read audiobooks.
Yes.
So I read a book from Venḓa to Palabura, complete, one book finished.
And that's the beauty of this, right?
Yes.
So if you're doing audiobooks, you do that.
Yeah.
If you like reading hard copies like myself, when someone is driving, you see it. I used to go when I was working in Rosebank.
Yeah.
I used to use a Uber and a Gautrain because I wanted to maximize the time that I read.
Yeah.
While watching TV, in most cases, you most probably have realized that when you're watching TV, you don't actually watch. You listen bit and pieces there. Most of the times, you actually be on your phone. So instead of being on your phone, have the book. So there are certain books that don't need you to be fully concentrated on as much as the certain shows, right? The other number 5, replace your phone time with the book.
Okay.
Stop scrolling Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Sure, you do need a dose of that, but don't make if your time on those on the phone becomes more than the time that you have on your book, then think about it. The other one is dedicate at least 1 hour in the morning and then 1 hour in the evening. To say like, okay, this is 1 hour, so in the day I've got 2 hours that I'm fully reading.
Yes.
Then number 7, which is the most important part, set a target.
Okay. Yeah.
So once you have a target and say, okay, I'm reading 10 books this year, it becomes very easy for you to go read it. So the myth that we don't have time needs to be eradicated, because we do have time. We just need to prioritize time for the things that matter.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I'm sure that is well understood. I'm also gonna copy that. So thank you so much for agreeing to do an interview with me. It was very knowledgeable. I've learnt a lot, and it should not only end here. We can also continue with the discussion in the chat box. If you have questions, you can ask questions there, and then I can also make some more time to avail Dr. Tshifhiwa. So thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Okay. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Oh, what's that up? I made that, baby. Ready to go to London.
Stop the video.
Oh.